Konnichiwa, I'm John Hornick. Welcome to my Japanese Faves Midnight Diner series, where we'll make the dishes from the Japanese language Netflix series called Midnight Diner. In the introduction to each episode, the diner's chef owner, called Master, says he has only one item on the menu, pork miso soup, which is a Japanese comfort food known as Tonjiro. Master shows in a quick cut sequence how to make it. In this lesson, I make Tonjiro basically the same way that Master makes it. Although Tonjiro can have a wide variety of ingredients, I use mostly the same ingredients that Master uses. I think Master uses pork belly, but you can use any cut of pork. This is a hearty, tasty soup for a chilly night. So let's start cooking. Okay, first thing we're going to do is put some oil into the pot. I want a nice big pot so you have room to work. And we're going to put that on the medium heat. And we're going to let that oil heat up until it's just starting to get whiffs of smoke. All right, we're just starting to get some whiffs of smoke, so we're going to do what Master did. He's going to put the pork belly down into the oil, into the hot oil, and going to move it around a little bit. Now we're just going to let this cook to get some color, okay? And then we'll add the vegetables. We're going to stir it around a little bit so that we get some color on both sides of the pieces. Okay, so we're getting some nice brown on the pork belly. And by the way, I am using pork belly. You could use a different cut of pork if you want. You could use some pork butt or some pork tenderloin. Oh, that will cook a lot faster. Now what we're going to do is add all of the vegetables. Now, I've given you quantities in the description, but you know, they're not. It's not necessary to stick to those exact quantities. Stir these around a little bit. You can use more onions if you want. You can use more mushrooms if you want. There's no hard and fast rules on exactly how much of each one of these ingredients you need to use. All right, now we're going to add the konnyaku. Now, Master, he broke it up with his fingers, and so that's what I'm going to do. But you could also just cut it into chunks and put it in there, in the chunks. But, I kind of like the fact that he broke it up this way. You get, less uniform sized pieces that way. And it's more tactile, okay? And konnyaku, I don't know if I mentioned in the introduction, but it's kind of hard to find. Yam cake, it's known as yam cake. I found this in a Japanese grocery store, so if you have a Japanese grocery store near you, it's probably not going to be hard to find, but I looked online for it and I didn't find it easily, so that may or may not be an ingredient that you can easily find for this. Do you have to have it? No, you don't have to have it. You don't have to have any of this. You can use other vegetables if you like. And konnyaku doesn't have a lot of flavor. It has texture once it's cooked. And it's used in a lot of Japanese soups and stews and nabes. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to stir that around. We're going to stir fry this a little bit, okay? The pork, by the way, to get that color took me about 4 or 5 minutes, but it's going to depend upon your heat, how much oil you used, how thick you cut the pieces. Now we're going to let this stir fry till we get a little color on this too. If you have anything sticking to the bottom of your pot, scrape that so it doesn't burn onto the bottom of the pot, okay? We're going to be adding the liquids soon, which will allow us to deglaze the bottom of the pot. Okay, we've got some color on the vegetables. We are now going to add the broth, okay? And I don't know if Master did this, but I'm going to just use the spoon to deglaze the bottom of the pot. What we're going to do is just scrape off the fond. The fond is kind of the cooked bits that are stuck to the bottom of the pot. This is adding flavor to this dish, and it's also cleaning the bottom of the pot so that you don't have burned or cooked on food on the bottom of the pot. It'll make the pot a lot easier to clean, and it's also adding flavor, okay? Now we're gonna add the miso. And the way that Master added the miso was that he had a little pot, and he used a spoon or a ladle, and he splashed it around, splashed liquid into the pot, and that mixed it in with the broth. But what we're going to do is we're going to use this little miso strainer. You could use any small strainer. We're going to put that down into the broth, and I put on a pot holder, and we're just going to use a little miso pestle, and we're going to stir that around down in the broth, okay? So as you're stirring that miso around inside the strainer, it's mixing with the broth, and since this is a strainer, it's going through the strainer into the broth, and it's a great way to mix the miso into the broth, because the miso is lumpy, right? So if you just put the miso into the broth without doing it this way or the way that Master did it, you're going to have lumps, all right? This gets rid of or prevents you from having lumps, and it gets all of the miso dissolved into the broth. And we're going to stir this up. Okay, now we're going to cook this until the vegetables are tender. It's probably going to take about 15 or 20 minutes. Okay, we've been a little bit more than a simmer for about 15 minutes. And the vegetables look soft. Yeah, okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to taste it. Now, you might have noticed that I didn't use any salt. That's because miso has salt, and miso can be a salt substitute. Now, tasting it, and I don't think it needs any salt. If you taste it and you think it needs salt, add salt. Okay, so now this is ready to serve. We're ready to plate it up. Okay, now we're going to plate up the Tonjiro, or the Midnight Diner pork miso soup. This is the only thing on the menu at Midnight Diner, but Master says he will make any dish that anyone requests as long as he has the ingredients. But this is the only thing he actually has on the menu, okay? Pork miso soup, Midnight Diner. And you can see photos of the final dish at my Instagram, which is @ChefsApprentice, Cook Like a Pro. Please remember to subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching.